Okay, what we're going to look at now is the final review. Now, this section is section E of the portfolio and is 5 marks out of 33. So it's about 15% of the total, just over 15% of the total. And it's really important that you aim to get 5 marks for this section, because I think it's one of the easiest sections that you can do. Compared with other things, it's probably one of the easiest parts of the e-portfolio that you can do. So we're going to have a look at that now, and all of the materials that I'm looking at are in the cider folder, Unit 3 and Review, and all of the materials are here for you to have a look at. Okay. So for 4 to 5 marks, I've got to see from you a realistic evaluation of each of the final products, including response to feedback from reviewers. So the key difference there between mark band 1 to 3 and 4 to 5 is that response to feedback from reviewers, how you respond to the feedback from reviewers. Let's go and have a look at what that looks like in actuality now. So here's a model of the review, which you can find in that folder. We've got a front cover. It's a proper document. We've got a front cover with name and details on, and maybe an image. You don't have to do that. It's up to you. Underneath that, down in the footer there, we've got your details. So you have your name, candidate number, Kingsdown score 66527, the name of the SPB there, and it's June 2019. That's the full details. The only thing that you need to change, obviously, are your name and candidate number. The rest of it is what needs to go on there. This is a very important thing, because it's in effect signing the document to say that you did it. It's your work. Then I've got contents, which perhaps I'll come back to later, and then into the introduction. Now, this actually isn't worth very many marks. Well, it's not worth any marks at all. So, maximum 2-3 paragraphs here just to introduce what you're doing. Don't spend too long on this, just a few minutes. It's not worth any marks, so not too long on that, please. Then I move on to talking about my products here. Okay, so what I've got to start with here is just introducing what, for example, the street banner is. It's a large banner that's hung over the main street where the food festival is to be held. It's going to advertise the event and welcome people to the festival, and then move on to the basic requirements here, and these have been bullet pointed. So if I look at the SPB, and to get to this, you can just simply go to Google and type in Food Festival SPB, and it's the first link. Here are the requirements. So if I go to street banner, for example, here are the requirements that you had to do, the basics that you had to do to produce your street banner. So all I've done here is replicate them, and then I've said underneath how I've done that, and then how I created a banner that was 15 meters wide and 1.5 meters high. It wasn't. It was to a 1 to 50 scale, so that every centimeter represented 50 in the real banner. So in actual fact, my banner was 30 centimeters wide and 3 centimeters high. So I've just explained that there. And then I've gone into the tools I've used. I've talked about the fonts. I've talked about some of the vector tools I've used. That's really important. Bitmap tools, if applicable. Take that from your design log. Don't reinvent the wheel here. If you've got that in your design log, use that again. And some description about what I've done. Not too much, because if we look at this here, what I need to be spending most of my time on, my limited time, is on this section here. So this should really be very quickly written, because you need to be spending the majority of your time on other things. Then I move into how the banner meets the needs of the audience. So I need to think about my audience carefully. In the case of my festival, vegan and vegetarian, the audience could be anyone really, 3 to 93. So it's not really specific. The only specific thing is that they eat, or they're interested in vegetarian and vegan food. And obviously vegetarians are different to vegans and the types of foods they eat. So I'm I've got two audiences there, but what I've got to do is just write down how my product is going to appeal to the audience. So the images represent vegetarian and vegan food, a veggie burger and a selection of vegetables I created. Okay, so that's your audience. For me, it was vegetarians and vegans. For you, it might be people like Indian food, Italian food, American food. It doesn't matter, but you need to be saying how. If my audience, for example, was people like American food, I've chosen to replicate the colours of the American flag, stars and stripes. So I've got white, blue and red on there so that they'll see that and associate that with American food. Now I move on to the purpose. The purpose is on the SPB, hung across the street festival, the entrance, welcome visitors to the festival. So what my product had to have done was to have welcomed people to the festival. So I'm thinking, if that's the case, it's got to welcome people. It's got to look good. It's got to attract attention. Okay, it's got to make people want to come in and view what's on offer. The audience is people that are interested in vegetarian and vegan foods. So it needs to appeal to those people. So I've written a bit about the colours I've chosen. The green will send out a clear message that this is a vegetarian vegan festival. It's associated with plants and plant-based products. Okay, if I walk around the supermarket and looking at the section where the vegetarian food is, then it's usually lots of greens and colours like that. So people associate greens with vegetarian vegan foods, and I've written about that there. So that's that section. Now I need to move on to feedback from reviewers. Now here I get the chance to talk about being realistic in my evaluation of my product. I get the chance to be realistic. This is where I get the chance to shine and show the moderator that I've got 4 to 5 marks. So what I've done with mine is I've started with some feedback. 20 people. Now, given the time we've got, it might be that you don't get to interview 20 people and you create the feedback yourself. What I've done with mine is I've represented mine in graph form. You don't have to do that. You can write down some feedback quotes. The main thing is we've got some feedback in there, whether it's in graph form or it's written down some quotes. I've got a few graphs there. What's really important is if I put there that 9 people out of 20 think that my banner does only a little bit represents the vegetarian food festival, then I've got to unpack that. And in actual fact, the majority of people, 11 people there, think that it's either no or a little in terms of it representing my food festival. So I'd need to unpack that and explain what that means, because that's not particularly great feedback for me. It's less than 50% think my food banner represents the food festival well enough. So underneath there, I get a chance to explain that and tell people why, to explain why some people might have thought like that. So for example, I've put there the nose. I've got a picture of a veggie burger, but some people thought make it look like a fast food festival and may even contain meat, and it put people off. Is this a fast food festival or a vegetarian festival? The audience for that will be quite different for those two things. So I've needed to explain that it's actually, I need to change that in the future. So here, response to feedback from reviewers. You must give me areas for improvement. If I scroll down to page 12 of my document here, by the way, I wrote this myself and it's taken about 4 or 5 hours to do. So allow about 4 or 5 hours to do this properly. I've got some comments here about how I can improve my work. Now, it might be that you improve it there and then, or it might be that it's future improvements. You haven't got time to do it now. So what I've said is the title will be bigger and make it stand out. The feedback I got on my program this is that the front cover doesn't stand out particularly well. A quarter of people said it didn't stand out very well. The information isn't very clearly presented, and well, I think that's it. Not particularly great feedback from me on my program. Probably not my best product. So I need to be realistic there. It isn't my best product. I'm not going to gloss over that. I'm going to be realistic. You're getting marks for producing a realistic evaluation. It isn't my best product. So I need to say what I need to do to improve that. So I'm going to say that I have improved the front cover and I'd make better use of that. Make better use of the space, delete some images, make better use of the space. The title will be bigger to make it stand out more. Perhaps adding an outline to the writing. Okay. What you need to get there is marks for being realistic. Back to this, I'm being realistic and I'm responding to feedback. And when I'm marking your work, I can justify to the moderator that you have got 4 to 5 marks. So I'm looking for evidence of that, and I'll put, here's some evidence on page 12, bottom paragraph of acting on feedback, telling me how the feedback's going to be used. And there's the evidence of responding to feedback from reviewers. Okay, I'm looking for evidence there. Then I'll send that off to the moderator, and they will see written down that evidence clearly enough. And that's what we want. Okay, we're producing evidence of this. You need to evaluate all products. So back up to the content. These are the headings that you're going to use. Each product has got a main heading, then subheadings there. Okay, tools used, how it meets the needs of the audience, how it meets the requirements of the purpose, how it acted on feedback, areas for improvement for each product. And if you do that, you should be getting 4 to 5 marks for that. That is how you hit 4 to 5 marks in this section. Thank you.